Welcome back into the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap, presented by Full Press Coverage. Well, we have about a week of basketball in the books already, kind of flown by. The Celtics and the Lakers are the two teams we talk about the most on this show, if you've been listening before. And that's because I'm a big Celtics fan. Sap is a big LeBron James guy, and thus he's a current Lakers fan. Before that, he was a Cavs fan. Before that, he was a Heat fan. Before that, he was a Cavs fan. But you're on the Lakers bandwagon right now, Sap. But our team's not a hot start to the season. So let me ask you this, Sap. What team should we dissect first? Your Lakers or my Celtics?
Go with your Celtics first.
Okay.
Because I think they have more.
You want to save the worst for last. I get it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think they got more long-term issues than the Lakers. The Lakers have too much talent, so they got to figure out how to use it. Although they have some injury concerns, and they've got two big men ready to throw punches at each other on the benches. But the Celtics still have some concerns, and they are also playing what I think should be a pretty interesting game tonight against 3-0 Charlotte team that so far has been the biggest surprise in the NBA in the early going.
All right, so we'll start with the Celtics, and obviously we're going to be checking in on them very frequently throughout the year. Like I said, they're my favorite team. In addition to that, we are a Boston-based show, and we have a lot of listeners from the area. So the Celtics are going to be a frequent topic of conversation throughout the year. And really, Sap, it was a very ugly start to the season. They lose the first game to the Knicks in New York in a double overtime. Really exciting game, but sort of a game that if you're a Celtics fan, you're like, well, just, you did all the work to get back into the game. Now pull it out. And they weren't able to do that, mostly because Jason Tatum couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in that game, and no one was giving Jaylen Brown all that much help. And then the most startling way to start the season was then following that up with the Celtics' own home opener against Toronto, where they got just absolutely waxed by, I'd say, a mediocre to bad Raptors team. By the way, Sap, I do those like post-game shows for the Celtics after every game, like live sort of reaction. I was criticizing the Celtics and saying, they lost to this bad Raptors team. And I did a hashtag of the Raptors. The Raptors fans went at me, man, on my YouTube. Nice. They were just like, you don't know what you're talking about. You never watched basketball before. I was like, take the win. You guys won. Why are you so upset? They're like, we're a much better team. You don't know what you're talking about. I was like, you guys won 27 games last year and lost Kyle Lowry in the offseason. But sure, the Raptors are great. But no, I mean, Sap, that was startling. The Celtics, because here was the scenario. You lost a heartbreaking game to the Knicks on opening night. Okay, the Knicks are about the same level as you. They were better than you last year. You still should beat them, I think. I think you should still be better than them, but you can live with that. Then you have your home opener, first time in almost 2 years, Sap, that it's a regular season game with fans that can attend.
A full crowd.
A full crowd. Yep. Sorry. A full crowd. You have a bunch of legends that you're honoring because it's the 75th anniversary of the league and the 75th anniversary of the franchise. He's a Celtics legend, Sap.
He's a Celtics legend. Actually, I was
had a big game in the finals.
I was startled to, or as Phil Jackson called him, Leon Powell. I was startled to see Danny Ainge there, to be quite honest with you, because, it didn't end well here, and he was there. And it was kind of also strange that he had kind of the same response that some of the players had. Like, I thought there'd be more cheers or more boos. It was just kind of like grilled chicken over salad when it came to Danny Ainge. But that's where Celtic fans are at right now. They just basically don't boo anybody other than, the opposing team's best players. But yeah, that was really startling because Toronto didn't have their best player, Pascal Siakam, and they absolutely destroyed you. It's the home opener with a full crowd. You would expect the Celtics to come out and play better than they did.
Right, and it's not even the typical home opener, Seth, because you would think the enthusiasm of, okay, new coach, a bunch of new players, the fans haven't been there in such a long time. Like, let's go. Paul Pierce is there. Satch Sanders is there. We're on. It's the 75th anniversary of the franchise. And the team responded by getting waxed the whole game. I mean, they lost 83-115. It wasn't even that close. It's just a horrible effort all around. And so terrible way to start the season. And then you finally pick up your first win of the year last night against what might end up being the worst team in the league, the Rockets, not because they're devoid of talent, but because all their talent is like 19 years old. So, and that was a competitive game. It's not like the Celtics looked all that great. You didn't have Jaylen Brown. He's still dealing with a knee thing, but it's certainly been an inauspicious start to the year. And I'm not saying I was expecting to go 3-0 to start the year, but I didn't think that was out of the realm of possibility based on their schedule. And to be so humiliated at home against, again, like a team, sorry, Raptors fans, that I just don't think is that good. That's alarming. It doesn't. Last season was so disappointing, Sap, for so many reasons. It doesn't seem like there's any reason to think it's going to be much different this year.
No, that looked like a game from last year. And then you play Houston, as you said, maybe the worst team in basketball. So on the same day that the Celtics beat the Houston Rockets, the Patriots beat the New York Jets, so everybody around here can feel happy about their two teams, which may not even want to count those wins against the worst team in basketball, one of the worst teams in basketball, and one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in football. So congratulations, Boston. The Celtics and Patriots won on the same day against the Houston Rockets and the New York Jets. Yeah, that game against Toronto did feel like a lot of home losses last year where the team just didn't show up. And I remember the first loss that really was alarming last year's when the Knicks came in here. I believe it was in December and beat you by 30. Oh, no, it was not December because the season started in December. It was like in January, and the Celtics.
It was early in the season, though. Year. It was relatively early, right?
It was in January, and they just blew you out. And I'm like, you lost to the Knicks by 30. Now, it turned out the Knicks were the 4 seed, and they've kind of carried over this year. That look, the Knicks are going to show up every night. They may not have the talent, but they're going to show up and battle you every night. We don't know that about the Celtics. The Celtics kind of give off this air of them being like this elite team, like the Nets or the Lakers or whoever else is a great team, by not showing up. Like the Lakers and Nets can do that. They have all-time greats on their roster, and we do think that getting closer to the playoffs, those two teams will be focused. The Celtics kind of put forward that same type of effort or lack of effort and think it's going to work. Well, they don't have the cachet that LeBron James and Anthony Davis or Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant or James Harden have. Those guys are, I just named 5 guys that are on the all 75 NBA team. Like the Celtics guys act like they're there and they're not. They still have a lot to prove.
And this has been an issue for them, an ongoing issue for them the past couple of years, is that their couple of Eastern Conference Finals appearances gave them this air of we're the team to beat, when really they accomplished nothing. Getting to the semifinals is not, and that's meaningless. I mean, maybe if you're the Charlotte Hornets, who is their opponent tonight, okay, maybe it means something to them, but certainly not to fans and the expectations in Boston based off the history of the team. And so it was alarming to me, Sap, that again, you don't need a lack of urgency at the beginning of the season because you're figuring things out, new coach, new players, but like to come out and lay such a dud in your home opener with all these external factors, like how do you not find motivation in that? That is what was alarming to me.
Yeah, you would expect a team that has a new coach, several new players to get off to a good start. Like that kind of works in the NBA. We've seen it with Charlotte, right? They've got an excitement about them. The Bulls made some changes in the offseason. They're off to a good start. You would think that the Celtics would do the same thing because they really didn't accomplish anything last year. They were the 7 seed. They won the play-in game, and then they lost in 5 games to Brooklyn. Congratulations. That's not
they were a disappointing team
season.
Last year. It was a miserable year.
It was a 500 team. They were a 500 team last year, and right now they're 1-2. They look like a 500 team because I don't really see. Again, it's 3 games. I get it, but you know what? We do 4 or 5 podcasts a week. We're not going to punt on this and say, well, we'll address this in February at the All-Star break and see where the Celtics are. No, we got to talk about it today. Jason Tatum's first game was a disaster when you shoot 7 for 30 from the floor. That's just, you don't see games like that from superstar players. And again, I should pull back that term. I don't think he's a superstar yet. I think he is a star who could be a superstar someday. He's not in that category just yet because of that lack of consistency and the fact that he just doesn't make those around him better. I think that's the next step for him. And I know Ime Udoka has really talked about that he wants to see Tatum more as a playmaker than just a scorer. If he can learn that aspect of the game and continue to still be an elite scorer, now you've got a superstar. Right now, you don't have the superstar, but he's still, a top tier player. Maybe I'm contradicting myself with that, but you get my point.
No, I get. I think there's not a lot of superstars in the NBA for a reason. I mean, it's hard to do. I mean, talent wise, he's oozing with talent. He's he's going to be an all-star the next 5-6 years of his career, no problem, because the numbers will dictate that, right?
There's 24 of them. There's 24 every year. So, yeah, he's one of the 24 best players in the league. He's also got a brand. He plays for the Celtics. He's fairly good looking. He's got the cute kid. So he's kind of, people know who Jason Tatum is. He's not like playing for the Memphis Grizzlies or some other team that doesn't have the brand that the Celtics have. But, yeah, they've got to be better than that. And I think they're going to have a really tough test against Charlotte, because Charlotte's off to a really good start. And LaMelo Ball is someone who makes his teammates better. And we already see in his second year that he's even elevated his game. Gordon Hayward's playing well. And maybe the biggest surprise in the league right now is the player Mikel Bridges, right? I mean, he's a guy who's in his fourth year who's averaging 25 a game. And again, it's 3 games. I don't think Mikel Bridges is going to average 25 a game. But he went from averaging 13 a game the last 2 years up to 25. So you see that jump. Look, if he's an 18, 19 points per game scorer, add Terry Rozier to the mix. Now you've got 4 legitimate players on that Charlotte team. And, congratulations to Michael Jordan and that staff. They're drafting better and starting to develop players. They were able to sign 2 former Celtics as free agents who have played well there. This is not an important game 4 of the regular season, but it's also something that we can draw from and see where the Celtics are at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said that after my post game last night when I was, breaking down the Rockets game and saying, obviously you want to get a win. You don't want to have to keep looking for that first win, because that's just a terrible feeling. So you take the win, but can you really take a lot out of beating the Rockets? And again, you didn't beat them up. Like with the Patriots, just for a cross-sports reference, yes, they beat the Jets, but at least they beat the crap out of the Jets. So like you could see a clear difference. Like, listen, it's not a super impressive win, but the way they did it was, at least you could say, okay, they figured some things out here. Maybe the Celtics won by 10 against the Rockets. I don't really think you can take anything from that game.
No.
And so what I was saying is, yeah, tonight is certainly going to be a much more of an indicator about what this team actually is, playing against a Charlotte team that is probably middle of the pack in the East. And so it's a good early measuring stick to see where you're at, and see if the Celtics can be competitive with them. So yeah, it's definitely something that I'm going to be interested in watching tonight, Sap. Going back to Jason Tatum, the thing that's concerned me the most with him, it's because, the opening night, he shot poorly. Those guys who are great scorers figure that out. So I don't think that, and it's proven to not be much of a problem. The thing that concerns me the most about him is the free throw shooting numbers have been scary for me. Game 1, 5 free throw attempts. Game 2, 1 free throw attempt. Game 3, 4 free throw attempts. He should be taking close to 10, Sap. That's what and he was, the thing is, Sap, he said all offseason, he knew what he had to do, get to the free throw line more. He was putting on muscle, and so his strength would be there to get to muscle in and get to the free throw line. And he has not shown that at all this season. I know it's just 3 games, but that's alarming to me.
Aren't free throws down in the league right now because they're really trying to tighten the screws on players, trying to draw kind of cheesy fouls? We see that with James Harden. He's got to adjust his game because Harden lives at the free throw line. I don't recall any player going to the free throw line more than James Harden over the last 5 or 6 years in the league. In the history of the league, obviously the bigs.
No, it's not close. It's not close.
But he's at the line 12 to 14 times a game. And we'll see games where James Harden attempts 20 free throws, and good for him because he'll hit 18 of them. Like, he takes advantage of that ability. Well, the league is scaling back on these types of calls. So you're going to see fewer free throws from even the star players. I mean, LeBron's not going to the free throw line as much as he should, but he has one issue, is that he sucks at the free throw line. So maybe in the back of his mind, he's like, I'd rather just go to the basket and pull up a little bit earlier, or just keep launching threes, which he's doing this year, than go in the free throw line. Jason Tatum's an 80% plus free throw shooter. He should have no issue with that, right? Going to the free throw line and make do with that. But I think part of it is the league is changing a little bit, but it's still on him. Again, he put 10 pounds of muscle on. He looks fantastic. He should be able to at least get 7 or 8 free throws a game. I mean, to ask for 10.
He's averaging 3 right now, Seth.
That's not good enough.
And again, in the blowout game against the Raptors, 1. He took 1 free throw.
That could be a guy who, in that. Look, here's the thing. It normally can work one way or the other. If he's hitting his outside shot, now is he going to be more receptive to driving to the basket? If he's not hitting his outside shot, is he not going to drive to the basket when it should be the other way around?
Totally, yeah.
He should drive to the basket, see the ball go into the basket, get to the free throw line, hit a couple of free throws, and a guy who's that talented all of a sudden becomes unstoppable. So you start working in, then out, rather than the other way around. So if his jumper's not working, does he just throw in the towel and say, well, I'm not going to the basket, it's not my night? There's some quit in Jason Tatum. There is. And that's an issue I have with him. I don't see that with Jaylen Brown. And that's the biggest difference between the players. Jason Tatum is more innately talented than Jaylen Brown. There's no question about that. He's 4 inches taller. He's more talented. He just is. But Jaylen Brown, I think, gets the most out of his ability because he doesn't give up as easily as Jason Tatum. That's my only concern with Jason Tatum, that he doesn't evolve into Carmelo Anthony. And look, Carmelo made the NBA 75th anniversary team, and I think deservedly so. And Jason Tatum's a marvelous talent, but what has Carmelo Anthony ever won? Has he ever made any teammate better? I don't want to see Jason Tatum turn into Carmelo Anthony, a guy who can score in his sleep. We get that, but a lot of empty calories. That's what I'm concerned about.
I think that's a great point and a great potential comparison, Sap. And yeah, it seems like silly to say, I really don't want this guy to turn into a top 75 all-time player. But if you follow Carmelo Anthony's career, or maybe, another comparison, Tracy McGrady, marvelous talent, never really made anybody better, had very little success in the postseason. I think Tracy McGrady won one series and he was at the end of his career on the Spurs in the playoffs. So yeah, those guys are phenomenal players, multi-time all-stars, and they get MVP votes, but did they ever really contribute to their teams winning all that much? Not really. And so you're hoping that Jason Tatum is the guy who's just a step above those types of players. Right now, he's 23 years old. He's got plenty of time to develop into that, but he's shown at times he can be that, but certainly, like you said, Sep, not nearly consistently enough. And I think there's aspects to his game, like you said, where he does get frustrated because he is so talented. And when you have that level of talent and things aren't working for you, you tend to throw up your hands and say, I don't know why this isn't working. I'm frustrated. I'm just not gonna give up. Because listen, it's a lot easier to take a jumper than it is to drive to the basket through weave through players and get contact. Like that's dirty work. That's not fun. You're taking a physical toll on you, but to win games, oftentimes that's what you need to do. And I've seen him do it before. And I think that's the most frustrating thing about the low free throw attempts is I know he has the ability to do it. I'm not wanting or asking him to do something that he can't do. We've seen him go to the free throw line 15 times in a game. I don't think that's, a reasonable expectation, but we know he can do it.
And hit 13 of them. Now, on the flip side, look at Giannis, a guy who struggles at the free throw line, keeps going to the free throw line. Give him credit because he has a very short memory. If he screws up, Giannis is ready, willing, and able to go, you know what? Now I'm the best player in the world. I'm going to go to the basket. If they don't call fouls on me, I'll just dunk on them. Again, we're comparing Tatum to the best player in the world right now, but he's ready, willing, and able to go to the free throw line and struggle. But then what happens in game 6 of the finals? 17 of 19 from the free throw line. So you have to you have to play in the moment. The other thing too is maybe the lack of calls of the fact that I don't know of a player in the league that bitches more to officials than Jason Tatum. He just constantly, but he's earned that. He's in his 19th year. He's kind of the Magic. And I love when, people my age will go, they didn't ever complain before. I'm like, dude, did you ever see Magic Johnson play? No one complained more than Magic. And I loved Magic. He was my all-time favorite player until LeBron James came along, but he complained all the time. Maybe I just like guys that complain to officials. If that's the case,
that's 90% of the NBA, Sap. They all bitch.
Well, that is.
Yes, Tatum, because he has the ball in his hands. By virtue of that, he's going to complain more, and he does. He complains too much. I agree.
He does.
The NBA players need to just accept the fact of life. The officiating sucks. It's always sucked. It's always going to suck.
And they can't call a foul on every player. We'll be here for 3.5 hours. Will turn into baseball. If I was to adopt a football player bitch the most, Tom Brady should have been my favorite quarterback, not Aaron Rodgers, because Brady bitches to the officials more. But look, Brady, LeBron, they've kind of earned that, right? They're all-time greats, maybe the greatest in their respective sport. Tatum is still trying to evolve into a player. Now we see Tatum, James Harden's doing the same thing. This is what happens when you have not necessarily just a rule change, but how they're going to enforce it. There's an overreaction by the officials. I remember, look, I'm an old bastard. 1987, Major League Baseball decided they were going to enforce the balk rule. And that's all we saw were balks for the first 2 months until they adjusted. I compare it to, you get in the shower, you put the shower on and it's scalding hot. Well, to get it back to the temperature you want, sometimes it gets a little too cold, and then you readjust it to where you want to be, nice and lukewarm.
It's the Three Little Bears principle, right?
Yes, exactly.
Too hot, too cold, just right. But listen, as far as the rule
Oatmeal
change,
too.
Steph,
Oatmeal. Do you eat oatmeal?
oatmeal, yeah.
When you take oatmeal out of the microwave, it like burns your mouth, and then like 30 seconds later, it's not hot enough. It's why you eat so fast. You can't have oatmeal, Jet, because you are one of the slowest eaters I've ever encountered. And I'm one of the fastest eaters. It's like laughable when we go out to eat.
It's not a quick eat food for me. No, it's a slow eat.
Nothing is a quick eat.
Well, it turns into cement if you take a long time to eat it. That's the problem with oatmeal.
My God, have you ever eaten cherry stones?
No.
Like those are the cherry. I mean, I love cherry stones. You put a little lemon on them and you just suck them down. Most people don't like them because the texture is not really that good.
Slimy.
I love them. Very slimy. But those are ones that you just gulp and you eat. Like if you would spend 10 minutes on a cherry stone. Like
I'm a very slow eater. That is
man.
True. That's my calling card, Seb.
It is. But the
for
Celtics
what it's worth,
overall,
by the way, Seb,
what?
I was gonna say I like the rule change. I do think it's a positive rule change. I hate the seeking the fouls that the players were doing, but I mean, it's certainly an overcorrection by the officials, but for the health of the game long term, I think it's a good rule change.
Especially when the offensive player kicks out beyond 3. I mean, that to me is just like, how is the guy supposed to play defense? Well, we undercut him. Well, you can't. The shooters are so good right now, whether it's Steph Curry or James Harden or whoever, that you have to play defense on them. You can't let James Harden or Steph Curry take an uncontested 3, because what do you think Steph Curry is on uncontested threes? Probably 60%. Like, I'm not
probably
being funny there. I mean, so of course you've got to go out and guard him, or else he's going to hit 3 out of every 5. And then he fakes, kicks his legs out, and you get called for the foul. And then Steph's at the free throw line. What's he shoot from the free throw line? 90%. So it's just like, you can't win.
No, and obviously the biggest the offender has been James Harden, who's literally he just Curry's at least trying to hit threes. Harden was specifically looking for fouls. To his credit, it worked. He won an MVP. He's had a lot of success in the league. It worked for him, but we'll talk about it, I'm sure, a little bit more in a later podcast. But he's looked a little bit lost to start the season with the rule change, because I mean it changed his game. It's a massive change to his game.
Sure, it's no different than in the early 2000s when the league decided they were going to call it closer among defensive backs, right? Like Bill Polian and the Colts complained that the Patriots were manhandling them in the 2003-2004 playoffs. Kind of changed that rivalry, because now the Patriots defensive backs couldn't manhandle Marvin Harrison and the rest of those guys on Indianapolis. So it kind of freed things up for Peyton Manning. Rule changes have a huge effect on sports anyway. I mean, football scoring is through the roof and has been like pretty much every year over the last couple of decades, because pass blockers can officially, almost hold, and defensive backs can't touch wide receivers. So of course passing numbers are going to go up. And we saw that in basketball where, if you drive to the basket, if you get looked at the wrong way, you're at the free throw line. And then when you throw James Harden at the free throw line, what's he, 87% free throw shooter? It's not like he's going to clank anything. So yeah, we'll see how this rule impacts it, but there'll be an adjustment early. The players are going to have to adjust, and then the officials will adjust, and then we'll be forgetting about this like 2 months down the road.
Yeah, I agree. So, the Celtics certainly not a great start. We'll see if they can turn it around. I haven't loved what I've seen from the rotations of Ime Udoka. I'm cutting him plenty slack because he is a rookie head coach. A lot of still new players to integrate. Certainly not been great to start the year, but the team, he deserves a little bit of slack. So we'll see. We'll revisit it in a month and a half and see how I feel. But right now, I'm not happy with what I've seen. The one player I have been happy with, Sap, and I tweeted this out, and I know it's shocking because I rag him all the time, is Grant Williams has been really good to start the season.
He has been.
Credit to him. He worked on his body. He lost weight, put on muscle. He's improved his three-point shooting, which was already pretty decent for his position, but he's gotten his shot off faster and a little bit more consistent. He is at least shown. Last year, I think he was a net negative. This year, he's been a positive. So if I'm going to give somebody on the Celtics credit, I'll give Grant Williams some credit.
Yeah, so at this point, when everything's right, he should be coming off the bench as your 7th or 8th guy. He's going to be a glue guy, right? He's going to play some good defense. He's going to fill in the gaps. That's what you want from him. You don't necessarily want him starting. At times, they've had to have that because, Al Horford misses the first game because of COVID and someone's hurt or someone's out, or we know Robert Williams is the most durable guy. But in a perfect world, Grant Williams is your eighth guy, which is
Yeah.
perfect because he'll come out and give you 18 to 22 minutes a night, play decent defense, good team guy, a guy that's going to show up to work every night. You need guys like that. Absolutely. And he can fill that role.
So that's, I mean, again, if I'm looking at him and saying that's been the most impressive thing about the Celtics so far, that's not a great sign. But like I said on my show last night, if I'm criticizing him all the time, I also have to be willing to compliment him when I see that he does something good, and he's been consistently impressive through 3 games. But credit where credit's due. Sap, shall we move on to your Los Angeles Lakers?
Sure, absolutely.
They are also currently have the same record as the Boston Celtics, 1-2. They just picked up their first win the other night as well. The biggest story so far in the season for them was an incident between Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard on the bench, where it seemed like it was all instigated by Anthony Davis, which was strange because he doesn't have much of a personality. Shoving Dwight Howard, there was some scuffling back and forth. It seems like it's okay now. What do you make of that situation, Sap?
I think it's a great sign. Anthony Davis cares. I've told you I think Anthony Davis is going to finish top 3 in MVP voting. He'll get more MVP votes than LeBron this year, because I think it's not his team. He's never going to be the alpha on a team. He's perfect as the number 2 guy like Scottie Pippen was, but I think you're going to see even a bigger role for Anthony Davis. Maybe it shows that Anthony Davis is invested this year. He cares, and he's going at it with a teammate. That's not necessarily the best look, but we know Dwight Howard can annoy people. Maybe they were just debating on why Anthony Davis made the NBA's 75th anniversary team and Dwight Howard didn't. Maybe that was the problem there. There was a difference of opinions on Davis making it and Dwight Howard not making it. Carried over. I'm sure it'll be taken care of. This happens on basketball teams. The guys don't necessarily have to like each other, or in the heat of battle, they have a disagreement. These guys played together 2 years ago, so it's not as if this is a new thing, right? And I think maybe at some point, maybe Dwight Howard, who I think could be, an annoying guy, whether he's on your team or off your team. I think it kind of works both ways with Dwight Howard. But Dwight Howard probably looks at Anthony Davis and go, man, I wish I just had the skill he has. Right. Like Dwight Howard's a great athlete who, when he was at his peak, was, a physical presence, but never had the skill set that Anthony Davis had. I mean, Anthony Davis has like guard skills. I mean, right. Big men around the league probably look at Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid and say, man, if I could have been born with those types of skills, Lord knows what I would have done. And sometimes maybe they think that they're wasting those talents. But I'm sure this is going to be fine. If this was a major concern, I'm sure LeBron will address this and deal with it. I mean, Russell Westbrook had a horrible first night. He's played a little bit better each of the games against Phoenix in the second game of the season, another home loss. Yeah, Rondo going at it with a fan. I mean, it's going to be a sideshow with the Lakers this year. They have so many personalities, so many old guys, that now these old guys are playing roles they've never played before, and they're going to all have to fit their roles for this thing to work. It's going to be a work in progress. They'll probably be a 500 team till Christmas, and then I think they'll start to reel off some nice winning streaks. The thing is, the schedule's in their favor, Jet. 12 of their first 15 games are at home, and some of them are against pretty average to poor teams. They should be able to build up some wins in that time. And if they're able to do that, the confidence will grow, and then maybe the growing pains will be less. I'm not concerned. It just, it's always interesting to see two guys going at it on the bench. We never see fights in the NBA because NBA players can't fight, even if they're on the same team.
What a stretch they have coming up for them right now, Sap. San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Cleveland, Houston, Oklahoma City. Really a murderer's row of horrible teams. So if anything's going to get them right, it should be that stretch.
Right? I mean,
man,
who do you lose? Who do you lose to there? You shouldn't lose a game to anybody. Like
and San Antonio and Oklahoma City are away. I mean, they should still win those games. And then you have Cleveland, Houston, Oklahoma City, all in LA.
Right.
It's a nice schedule.
Their only win came against Memphis, but Memphis has Ja Morant, right? So like he kept the Grizzlies in that game. Boy, is he unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah, those other teams are like tanking or bringing in young players. I mean, the Lakers should win. I mean, I'll give one loss because it's the NBA, right? Like LeBron skips a game for load management.
Lose fluky games. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, and Russell Westbrook takes 27 shots and hits 6 of them, and is doing what he does. Yeah, so I mean, they should win every one but one. Yeah, they, like I said, 12 of 15 to start the season at home, so they should get off to a decent start so that they can get some confidence going. But you won't see the Lakers at their best till after Christmas, if not even later. There's a lot of moving parts here, Jet. And again, Westbrook is a difficult guy to bring into the equation because you have to figure out what he does. At the same time, he doesn't seem to embrace what you do. He kind of plays, with blinders on. He's a sideshow, an incredibly talented sideshow. But I think it's kind of like Allen Iverson was, like as great as Allen Iverson was, even when he went to Denver, he was still pretty good, but it didn't really work because he kind of plays unto himself. And the same thing with Westbrook. And Westbrook will always put up good numbers. I mean, he'll have triple doubles because that's what he does. But, it's going to have to be those guys adjusting to him, which is unfortunate because one guy should be able to try to adjust to others rather than the other way around. But it's Russell Westbrook. This is not an easy guy to move off of the way he plays.
So, yeah, I mean, Sap, the early returns on him haven't been great. His scoring is way down, which, I mean, is expected. He's the third option on this team by far. But just 12 points a game for Westbrook right now. And certainly, I mean, you can't look at the player efficiency rating really that much early in the season, but his right now is, just to compare, his is 6. Anthony Davis's is 24. I know it's just 3 games in, but just to give you an idea of how efficient these players have been. And he's never been an efficient player, Westbrook. No. We know that about him, but does it become a concern at any point in the season, Sap?
Oh, if we're into like February and they're still not connecting, then there's a problem. But then what do you do at that point? What do you trade him? Can you trade him? And what do you trade him for? He still has a pretty massive contract, right? I think he has this year and next year. I mean, I floated the Westbrook for Ben Simmons because the contracts kind of match, and Simmons wants to play for the Lakers, but the Sixers want Westbrook, and Westbrook's going to turn into Ricky Henderson. Like, he's going to play on like 9 teams by the time he retires because he's still good enough that you put out there, and he still can help you win, and he's also a draw. But the Lakers don't necessarily. He doesn't need. The Lakers don't need a draw. They have the biggest name in basketball in LeBron James, and they have the biggest brand in basketball in the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, if you're a team that's, I don't know, pick a team like, I always thought Westbrook would end up with the Knicks just to help sell tickets. And
he might. Still might.
That could be that way. I mean, but the Knicks are building up something nice in terms of that the New York fans are very intelligent. I think it's the best basketball city in the country, and they like this Knicks team because they're playing a really good team style of basketball with defense. And as much as people talk about New York being, I mean, a glamorous city, it's still kind of a blue collar city. LA's different. LA likes stars and flash. New York really likes grittiness, kind of like Boston and Philadelphia. So I think they look at this Knicks team and they really have embraced it. I mean, Madison Square Garden on opening night was spectacular.
Yeah,
in that game against the Celtics. It's an awesome place.
Well, they're so starving for any quality basketball there too.
Just for good basketball, exactly. So they like this team because it's a team that, look, the Knicks show up every night and play. That you're going to get that. You're not going to have these games like the Celtics will have where they don't show up against the Raptors. The Knicks will bring it every night. So so Westbrook, can you move him?
No,
very difficult. It's not going to be easy to do. And that I wasn't, I would prefer if the Lakers went out and got Buddy Hield. He would have been the shooter they need. LeBron likes having shooters. Instead, they went out and get perhaps the worst perimeter shooter in basketball in Russell Westbrook. And I'm not being hyperbolic there. No, he can't shoot. He's a terrible shooter.
Do you want to know what his 3-point percentage is this season?
Is it like 17%? I didn't even look, but it's probably
it's 9. It's 9. 9%.
Like, I could do that. So he's hitting essentially 1 out of every 11 3-pointers. Like, the ball boys could do that just by luck. You may bank one in, may just rattle in. No, and you know what? That's not a surprise because he's been basically a 30% or sub 30% 3-point shooter the last several years, to the point where now it's affected his free throw shooting below 70%. I mean, Westbrook was.
Do you want to know what his free throw shooting percentage is this season?
Probably. This is a good thing though. Before you tell me the number, now that there's fewer free throws, that actually benefits the Lakers because they suck at the free throw line. So that
they do. They're very bad free throw shooting.
That may help them. They can't. How does a team with 6 Hall of Famers on it not be able to shoot free throws?
Their tallest player is their best free throw shooter, Anthony Davis. That doesn't usually make sense.
Yeah, I mean, my theory on LeBron, and that's my My thing with him is not being able to shoot free throws. I think is completely in his head. He's got a nice release. There's no reason he can't hit his free throws at a 75-80% pace. He never has, or it hasn't recently. So yeah, Westbrook's, what's he shooting? 30% from the free throw line?
41% from the free throw line, and 35 from the floor overall.
Yeah, so you could add all those numbers up. It doesn't even get to 100. Not that, I mean, obviously not the percentages, but you're talking 41 from the
free
field.
Throw. No,
free throw. That's 30, right. Yeah, this
35 from the field.
Wow. So that's 76
and
9%.
And 9 from 3. That's
add
a single
them up,
digit.
And that's 85, which so 85 out of a possible 300. Yeah, so like how inefficient is he? No, I mean, he's never been one of my favorite players. I like him personally. He plays his ass off. I think he seems to be a great guy. Like in terms of like in the community, as a family man, I like love him. Who have I compared him to? And I love doing my cross-sport references. Cam Newton. I love Cam Newton, just not an efficient quarterback. Like it's not a bad thing to say. You're not being hateful to say that Russell Westbrook and Cam Newton, once they've lost their athletic ability, which happens when you turn 32, 33 and you have injuries.
That hasn't quite happened to Westbrook yet.
No, he's still flying around out
there. It did happen to Newton. Yeah. He lost it completely.
Oh, God, yeah. He just can't throw the football. I mean, it's kind of important for a quarterback. So they're very similar. They're both fashionistas. They both played most of their career in a really small market where they were like the only star.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Charlotte, you got Cam Newton because the basketball team sucked, and the Panthers at least went to a Super Bowl. And in Oklahoma City, it was Westbrook who stayed and Durant left. The fans in Oklahoma City love Westbrook. So
both of those guys won MVPs of their respective leagues too.
Yeah, I mean, guys, and they're fun to watch because they do things that you go, holy crap, how the hell they do that?
It's a great comparison. It's a great cross.
To me, it's the same thing. They're both well-dressed guys, good-looking guy. Yeah, like, you know, and it's just, but as they get into the early 30s, or in the case of Cam, it was as soon as he turned 30, it's like he lost it. A lot of injuries too, especially with a football player. Plus, they let people beat up on Cam. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a quarterback take as many hits as Cam Newton without getting roughing the passer calls.
Yeah, he did get really screwed like with the officiating. Yeah. That's a good point.
It was so big. I mean, it was like Shaq out there, right? You just needed 3 guys to tap. I mean, if Brady got hit as much as Cam Newton, Brady would have retired, but Brady also never put himself in that position to get hit because he doesn't run. And Brady also, like Peyton Manning, both really smart at like, let's live to play another play. Let me just get rid of the ball or go down. Whereas Cam's like, and Ben Roethlisberger was the other quarterback who was constantly fighting for every play. And, you know, at some point the returns diminish because of injuries. But the Lakers, I think they'll be fine. But, you know, there's going to be some benchmarks that we got to see where they hit. Like, you know, I'm going to look at Christmas, see where they're at that point. And then as we get closer to the All-Star break, then at that point, you know, don't be surprised if they try to make some sort of move to add something and go from there. Because they're all in championship mode right now. They generally are, especially if you have got LeBron James on your team, you're in championship mode.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think, you know, when we previewed the season and talked about the Lakers, which we did at length, I mean, we all knew it was a bit of an awkward fit with Westbrook. Certainly not a plug and win sort of immediately type player. And I think we said right before the season started that neither of us expected them to get out to a quick start. Now, maybe the way the schedule is organized as we went over, maybe it'll be conducive to a quicker start than I thought. But the fact that they're 1-2 right now doesn't surprise me at all.
Right.
Because they're integrating so many new pieces, and the pieces they're integrating are a little bit clunky fits. I agree with you. Buddy Hield would have been a better fit. I'm not sure why LeBron, who is the GM of the team, whether he has the title or not, decided to go for Westbrook instead of Hield. And make no mistake about it, that was his decision to go to get Westbrook instead of Hield. They presented him with a linear choice. He chose to go get Westbrook. I'm not sure that made a lot of basketball sense, but I mean, there's plenty of time for them to figure it out. I don't think they have to be the top seed in the West to get out of the Western Conference. So they have the luxury of being able to figure it out on the fly.
Yeah, no, I think they'll be just fine. They'll make whatever moves are necessary. And I've told you, I think that LeBron looks at it. If he can get Russell Westbrook a title, that could be his crowning achievement because no one else could, whether it was Durant or Harden, you know, 2 all-time great players. Didn't work with Westbrook. I mean, Durant and Westbrook worked for a while and then it didn't. But could win a championship with those guys, and maybe LeBron can deliver a championship and also a championship for Carmelo Anthony. Like if you can win a championship, and look, they're not the primary players on the team, it's LeBron and Anthony Davis, but if somehow you carry a team to the championship and on the way you get Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony, their first and most likely only championships of their career, that's a big feather in LeBron's cap.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, if he beats the Nets or the Bucks in the finals, I mean, that
Sure.
certainly looks more impressive, beating either the defending champion or,
Yep.
The favorite. It's going to depend on the path, and the opponent will have a big factor to play into it. But, I expect the Lakers to be right in the mix at the end of the season.
Sure.
We both didn't expect them to start fast. They're not. I think, again, because of their schedule upcoming, they'll probably win a bunch of games soon, and then maybe they'll go back to struggling a little bit. But by the end of the year, I expect it to work. I don't think Westbrook will ever be a perfect fit, but where I think you'll see him paying big dividends is when LeBron and or Anthony Davis is out of the lineup. I think that's when Westbrook's going to pay the biggest dividends.
Yeah, because he'll go balls to the wall, and you win a game against Minnesota in December when LeBron or Anthony Davis or both are sitting out, he'll get you a win because he is an effort guy, right? So, and you look at what LeBron did almost a decade ago in Miami when he brought in Ray Allen. That was the perfect fit for LeBron at that time, right? Where a great outside shooter, clutch shooter, understood his role. Westbrook's not a really good fit, but again, it's still a long season.
Yeah, absolutely. So plenty more to go and talk about with the Celtics and the Lakers. And we'll be checking in on those teams all year long, with the other teams too. We're not going to ignore everybody else, but we do like to focus on those two teams who are both looking for their 18th World Championship banner as well. Despite the fact that they have the same record right now, I'd say the Lakers are considerably closer to achieving that goal than the Celtics. But hey, you never know, Sap. Maybe the Celtics and GM Brad Stevens have some ace up their sleeve. We shall see. But that's going to do it for us here at the Pick and Roll NBA podcast with Jet and Sap. Again, we're presented as always by Full Press Coverage. So make sure you check out their website for this and other great podcasts. Our next show, we're going to be talking about the NBA's 75th anniversary list of their top 75 players of all time. So you want to make sure to check that out. We will be debating who got screwed, who maybe will be on the greatest 100 players of all time in 25 years. Lots to talk about with that list. So make sure you listen to that. You can find our podcast wherever podcasts are found, and you can find our social medias at JohnSapp25 and at JetStryer on Twitter. And if you're not already watching the YouTube, please do so. YouTube.com/JetStryer. We'll be back with another podcast tomorrow, so make sure you check it out then. See you, everybody.